So we are going to continue with the analysis of Beowulf, and we are going to finish with it today. Okay, so we have started in line 2177. Yes, we see that as we have explained last class, Beowulf, this is now the last part of the story, the last section. Yes, we only have two parts. This is the second section in which Beowulf is after 50 years, yes, in time, he has become the king of his tribe, yes. And it says, if you go to line 2207, the White Kingdom reverted to Beowulf. He ruled it well for 50 winters, grew old and wise as a warden of the land. So here we see that he has come to the throne and he has been ruling it for 50 years. Yes, so this is an old king now, just like Hrothgar at the beginning of the story, because remember that in epic poetry, we have this cyclic retelling of things. Yes, it will all end as it has begun. Remember how Beowulf had to face first one enemy, then a second enemy, and now he will face a third enemy, because epic poetry is all about repetition and how cycles are repeated. Yes. And it says, as we continue reading, yes, until one began to dominate the dark. So he ruled it well for 50 years until someone, yes, started dominating the dark. Again, this theme of light versus darkness. A dragon on the prowl. From the steep bolts of stone-roofed barrow where he guarded a hoard, there was a hidden passage unknown to men, but someone managed to enter by it and interfere with the heaven throw. So this is interesting here because we see that there is a dragon, yes, and there is a hidden passage through which one person managed to enter. Yes, he had handled and removed a gem-studded goblet. It gained him nothing, though with a thief's wiles he had outwitted the sleeping dragon that drove him into rage, as the people of that country would soon discover. Yes, the intruder who broached the dragon's treasure and moved him to wrath had never meant to. It was desperation on the part of a slave fleeing the heavy hand of some master, guilt-ridden and on the run going to ground. But he soon began to shake with terror. In shock, the wretch panicked and ran away with the precious metalwork. So here, what it says is that this person had managed, yes, to outwit the dragon, and he stole a goblet. Yes, a goblet is like a cup. Yes, and it is said that the thief is a slave who wants the goblet to obtain his freedom from a heavy master. Yes, you will find that there are some points, yes, some dots that appear in the text. These lines were burned in the manuscript, so when they were transcribing it, they couldn't understand what it said. And Heaney, yes, the author that has translated this, and that is showing us this translation, decided to leave it like that, yes, and not to make up words for something that just didn't exist. Yes. So notice how the dragons are represented. Yes, like how the dragon is represented here as an animal that gets really mad when something is stolen from him. Yeah, so there are some things that we need to take into account. The dragon gets really mad. Yes, there will be consequences for this theft. And the slave who stole this goblet feels really bad for the situation because he knows that there will be consequences. But we know that he did it for a good reason. And he only stole one goblet. There is a big treasure there that the dragon is protecting. However, he was not greedy, and this reflects the Anglo-Saxon values, the fact that he only stole what he needed and for a good reason. Yes, now the dragon gets too mad for just a goblet, but well, that's how animals are. They are irrational. Yes, so this is important, and it shows the ambition, the greed of the dragon. Yes, we continue a little bit more. We are going to go to line 2242. A newly constructed barrow stood waiting. This is what we know as the Song of the Last Survivor. This is a digression, yes, and it's one of the most important ones because it sheds light on the whole poem. It's a reflection on the accumulation of things. It's a reflection on the fact that we shouldn't, yes, keep so many things to ourselves because eventually we will die. It's an elegy. An elegy is like a poem that is sung and it has a really sad tone. Yes, let me see if I can write this for you. Give me a second. So this digression will tell us the story of the last survivor of a tribe. Yes, and as I said before, this is the type, the tone, yes, the way it is written, it depicts an elegy. Yes, so as soon as this allows me, I want to write down the word elegy for you. But well, if it doesn't show up, let me. It's not allowing me to write anything on it. I don't know why. Oh, because it's still downloading. Sorry for this. Well, as it downloads, I will read this extract, this digression, just a part of it, so that we understand what it is about. Yes, here, let me write down this for you, elegy. Yes, that's the word. Yes, this is an elegy. So, I want to continue. Yes, let me read this section. A newly constructed barrow stood waiting on a wide headland close to the waves, its entryway secured. Into it, the keeper of the hoard had carried all the goods and golden ware worth preserving. His words were few. So here it's when it starts the reflection, yes? So there was someone that has entered a place where he feels that he has been secured. Yes, most probably the cave where this dragon is now living. Yes, where has hidden all the treasures. Yes, its entryway secure. Into it, the keeper of the hoard had carried all the goods and golden were worth preserving. So there is this person who knows that he's going to die, or maybe his whole tribe has died, but he has gathered all the treasures and he has piled everything. Yes, and he's in a secured place, or so he believes. His words were few. Now earth hold what else once held, and heroes can no more. It was mined from you first by honorable men. My own people had been ruined in war. One by one, they went down to death, looked their last on sweet life in the hole. I am left with nobody to bear a sword or burnish plated glovelets, put a sheen on the cup. The companies have departed. So terrible, because all the people around him have died, and he is the last survivor. The hard helmet husked with gold will be stripped of its hoops, and the helmet shiner who should polish the metal of the war mask slips. The coat of mail that came through all fights, through shield collapse and cut of sword decays with the warrior. Nor may webbed mail range far and wide of the warlord's back beside his master troops. No trembling harp, no tuned timber, no tumbling hawk swerving through the hall, no swift horse pawing the courtyard. Pillage and slaughter have emptied the earth of entire peoples. So he is alone. All the armor that people wore at that time, they were just there. There was no one to even use it. Yes, to use that armor. And so he mourned and he moved about the world, deserted and alone, lamenting his unhappiness day and night, until death's flood brimmed up in his heart. Yes, so this is a very sad story, the sad digression, or someone who has belonged to a group of people, but they have disappeared, they have been killed. Yes, and he's alone, he's sad, and he realizes that all the things that he has, they are worth nothing, because he has nothing, he has no one to share them with. Yes, he finds no sense in the reality that he is living, and he continues to live like that until he dies. So this digression is a reflection on the whole poem, on the fact that accumulating treasures is not it's pointless. Yes, and it reflects the values of the Anglo-Saxon society, this idea that treasure is for giving and not for keeping. Yes, so this is a very sad story that also reflects or foreshadows what will happen next in the story. Yes, so it's kind of giving us a spoiler, yes, of what will happen soon. So this was the Song of the Last Survivor. If you want to read more about this, if you go to the book that I have shared with you, a companion to Beowulf, there you have more specific information about it. Yes, but bear it in mind because it will be important as we continue to analyze the story. Then we have, if you go to the following paragraph, yes, it describes a little bit more the dragon, yes. Then an old harrower of the dark happened to find the hoard open. So that place, we are back now to the narrative, the main narrative line, yes. So that cave where everything was accumulated, all the goods, the armor, all the gold, yes, that this last survivor had gathered, yes, it says that an old harrower of the dark, the dragon, happened to find the hoard open, the burning one who hands out barrows, the sleek-skinned dragon, threatening the night sky with streamers of fire. People on the farms are in dread of him. He's driven to hunt out hoards underground, to guard hidden hold through age-long vigils, though too little avail. So it's terrible. The threat of having a dragon living close to you, it was terrible because you knew that very soon you would die. They were a synonym of a disaster. Yes, a disaster that would soon happen. Yes. So if we go to the following paragraph, yes, it says, when the dragon awoke, troubled flared again. So imagine when the dragon awakes and he realizes that the goblet, yes, the cup is missing. He rippled down the rock writhing with anger when he saw the footprints of the prowler who had stolen too close to his dreaming head. So may a man not marked by fate easily escape exile and woe by the grace of God. Notice the use of alliteration. Yes, so the dragon is enraged because he has realized, yes, that he has been stolen a goblet. Yes, we know that he has a big treasure there, but he's mad because of a goblet. Yes, so he is completely irrational. And if we go to the last paragraph, the last sentence of the following paragraph, it says, the first to suffer were the people on the land, but before long it was the treasure giver who would come to grief. So the first to suffer the consequences of this slave who had stolen the goblet were the people on the land, the ones that were living in the countryside. But before long, it was their treasure giver. Who was their treasure giver? Beowulf. Yes, it was Beowulf who would come to grief. So soon Beowulf would have to face the consequences of this situation. Yes. The following paragraph says, the dragon began to belch out flames and burn bright homesteads. There was a hot glow that scared everyone, for the vile sky winger would leave nothing alive in his wake. So he would kill everyone, no matter what. Yeah, so if we compare the three enemies that Beowulf has had up to now, they are very different. There is no genealogy, no descendants introduced when the dragon is introduced to us. Yes, when the dragon is introduced to us, we are not told his genealogy, his descendants, the history of his family. Why? Because he's an animal. Whereas the other two, yes, they had a genealogy. They were more rational. If you remember Grendel's mother, she only kills the closest and most important person to Hrothgar, but she doesn't kill 20 people. Yes, they have more codes, so as to say, a code of behavior where they respect each other. If it's an eye for an eye, if you kill my son, I kill someone that is important to you. But here we see the dragon, yes, that a goblet was stolen from him, and he's killing entire villages of people. Yes, he's completely irrational. If we go to the following paragraph, yes, it says then Beowulf, yes, this is line 2324. Then Beowulf was given bad news, a hard truth. His own home, the best of buildings, had been burnt to a cinder, the throne room of the kids. So the dragon burnt the throne room of the kids. Yes, it threw the hero into deep anguish and darkened his mood. The wise man thought he must have thwarted ancient ordinance of the eternal Lord, broken his commandment. His mind was in turmoil, unaccustomed to anxiety, and gloom confused his brain. The fire dragon had raised the coastal region and reduced forts and earthworks to dust and ashes. So the war king planned and plotted his revenge. There is a word here that is used in the original in the Anglo-Saxon that is fey, F-E-Y, F-E-Y. And it's an Old English word for somebody who is doomed to die. It's different from weird. Remember that we saw the concept of weird? It's different because fey, it's a more specific fate. Yes, weird is broader in meaning. Yes, but fey, it's when you have little hope and you know for sure, you have this anguish within you because you know that the end is close. Yes, and this is what Beowulf feels. Yes, so this is an important word. This it's not just doomed to die, but it's awareness of the fact that this is the last one. Yes, that you will definitely face death now. And it also implies a touch of madness. Yes, because we would see now that Beowulf is decided to make this battle happen, and he wants to be the protagonist of the fight. Yes, if we go to the end of this paragraph, the last sentence says, after many trials, he was destined to face the end of his days in this mortal world, as was the dragon, for all his long leasehold on the treasure. So this is the poet speaking. Throughout the poem, we have different narrators. We have the poet, yes, the poet very often, yes, is the one who is speaking, yes, and when the inverted commas appear, we have the voice of the characters, yes, Beowulf, Hrothgar, yes, and even some female characters, yes. So here is the poet, yes, who knows how hard it can be. He knows that it's going to be harder than before, and Beowulf knows that he's doomed to die. So he is the last survivor somehow. Yes, we start to see reflected that digression here, okay? Yet, so there's a yet, yes, yet the Prince of the Rings was too proud to line up with a large army. So the Prince of the Rings is Beowulf, yes. He was too proud to line up with a large army against the Sky Plague. So what does it mean? First, it says too proud as a negative trait in Beowulf, yes. Hrothgar was never too proud, yes, because we can compare Hrothgar and Beowulf here because Beowulf is more or less the age that Hrothgar was when Beowulf faced Grendel, yes. So in a way, we can see this parallelism between them, but we see that Hrothgar was not too proud because he asked for help. He even accepted help because he knew that he didn't have a chance because he was an old man. He knew that he wouldn't be able to fight against Grendel or Grendel's mother and succeed, yes. However, Beowulf says that he was too proud to line up with a large army. So he didn't want to take a large army against the dragon. He would only go, we will learn now, with a few soldiers, 13, yes. And the number 13 is the slave, yes, because he knows that he's going to be the guide to the cave because he was the one that was first able to enter. He had scant regard for the dragon as a threat, no dread at all of its courage or strength, for he had kept going often in the past through perils and ordeals of every sort after he had purged Hrothgar's hold, triumphed in Herod, and beaten Grendel. He outgrappled the monster of his evil skin. One of his cruelest hand-to-hand encounters had happened when Hyla, king of the Geats, was killed. Well, now it goes on with a flashback, but the point is here that Beowulf is too proud. He will only take a small army against the dragon. Yes, we're going to skip this part because it goes against the past. It goes again to the past to see how Beowulf is crowned. Yes. If you go to line 2397, and so the son of Ichthiel, Beowulf, had survived every extreme, excelling himself in daring and in danger, until the day arrived when he had to come face to face with the dragon. The lord of the Geats took 11 comrades and went in rage to recontrive. So Beowulf takes the 12 people, yes, and they ask the slave to guide them into the dragon's cave, yes. If you go to the following paragraph, the veteran king, yes, the old king, sat down on the cliff top. And again appears the concept of fate. He wished good luck to the Geats who had shared his heart and his gold. He was sad at heart, unsettled yet ready, sensing his death. His fate hovered near, unknowable but certain. It would soon claim his comfort soul, part life from limb. Before long, the prince's spirit would spin free from his body. Yes, so he in this mindset, yes, he decides to tell the story. But what is the mindset? It's faith. Yes, this idea, this sadness, because you know that the end is close. Yes, and with a touch of madness. Yes. One thing that we need to know about Beowulf is that he has no sons. This means that he doesn't have someone. If he dies, there will be no king to his tribe. And a tribe without a king is a tribe that is in danger to be invaded, okay? So he's not being really smart about this decision, yes? He retells his whole story, yes, in the following lines. He retells how he survived when he was young, how he was fostered out by his father, left in charge of his people's lord. Notice that this is the voice of Beowulf speaking, yes? He retells the story of King Rethel, who dies of sadness, yes? We're going to skip this section. Yes. We're going to go to this is line 2000. It's in the paragraph that begins the treasures that Hylag lavished on me, 2490. But we're going to read 2497. I marched ahead of him, always there at the front of the line, and I shall fight like that for as long as I live, as long as this sword shall last, which has stood me in good stead, late and soon, ever since I killed the Raven the Frank in front of the two armies. So here what he's saying is that he is going to be at the front and he wants to face the dragon himself alone. Even when he had taken a small army with him, he wants to fight alone. This is a reckless decision. I know that he knows that he's going to die, but if he took people to help him, he should accept the help, because he's not the young Beowulf that faced Grendel, okay? He's old now. And this is a dragon. Yes, this is not Grendel. He brought back no looted breastplate to the Frisian king, but fell in battle, their standard bearer, high-born and brave. No sword blade sent him to his death. My bare hands still his heartbeats and wrecked the bone house. Now blade and hand, sword and sword stroke will assay the horde. So what he says is, I have killed people with my bare hands. Now I'm going to kill him with my sword. Yes. And we continue. Beowulf spoke, made a formal boast for the last time. Remember how they would boast? This was a way, yes, and before going into a battle, as he did before facing Grendel. Yes, the only thing that we know is that he's boasting, not in a negative way, but we do know that he's being a little bit proud. Yes. It says, Beowulf spoke, made a formal boast for the last time. I risked my life, yes, often when I was young. Now I am old, but as king of the people, I shall pursue this fight for the glory of winning, if the evil one will only abandon his earth fort and face me in the open. So even when he says, now I am old, he's not aware of his limitations. and what will happen to his people if if he dies? He will leave them unprotected. Yes. So then, not in the following paragraph, but the next one, yes, in line 25, 29, yes, he instructs the warriors to stay back since he wants to fight the dragon alone. And of course, he places the warriors in a conflicting position because if for the Anglo-Saxon society, it was very important to be loyal, especially to your king. And if you see that your king is going to face someone that is going to be very powerful, and you went there to help him, and he asks you to stay and not to intervene, then they were put in a very difficult position because they wouldn't know what to do. Yes. We'll continue a little bit more. So if we go to line 2550, he has finally entered the cave. He sees the dragon and it says, then he gave a shout. The Lord of the Geats unburdened his breast and broke out in a storm of anger. Under the grey stone, his voice challenged and resounded clearly. Hate was ignited. I love the words. I don't like so much the entrance. It's not very smart of him to enter the cave shouting. We know that the dragon may be asleep, and he enters, yes, giving a shout. But I love the wording, the use of words, yes. If we go to a couple of lines below, to line 25, 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, towards the middle, roused to a fury, each antagonist struck terror in the other. So the dragon is also shocked because imagine you are asleep and suddenly someone enters shouting, yes? It would have been smarter being, entering quietly in order to kill him. But well, I have never faced a dragon in my life, so I wouldn't know. But from the movies I have watched, we sense that this is not the smartest way. Yes, and he has a touch of madness. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing something like this. If you go to line 2573, that final day was the first time when Beowulf fought and fate denied him. Yes, and the word that is used here in the Anglo-Saxon is weird. Yes, fate denied him. So this was the first fight that destiny wouldn't be in his favor. Denied him glory in battle. So the king of the Geats raised his hand and struck hard at the enameled scales, but scarcely cut through. So he tries to cut the dragon with his sword, but he barely scratches him. Yes. The blade flashed and slashed, yet the blow was far less powerful than the hard-pressed king had need of at that moment. The Mount Keeper went into a spasm and spouted deadly flames. When he felt the stroke, battle fire bellowed and spurred. Beowulf was foiled of a glorious victory. The glittering sword infallible before that day failed when he unsheathed it, as it never should have. So the sword that he intends to use, yes, melts. Because remember, what is the main weapon that dragons have? Fire. Yes, and a sword made of metal just melts. Yes, it wouldn't be useful. So what does Beowulf do? For the son of Ictheo, it was no easy thing to have to give ground like that and go unwillingly to inhabit another home in a place beyond. So every man must yield the leasehold of his days. So what does he do? He hides. For the first time in his life, in a battle, he goes and he hides because he's afraid and he has no weapon to defeat this man, okay? This man, this animal, this dragon. If we go to the next paragraph, before long, the fierce contenders clashed again. The horde guard took heart, inhaled, and swelled up and got a new wind. He who had once ruled was furled in fire and had to face the worst. So all the companions see and hear, yes, what is happening. No help or backing was to be had then from his high-born comrades that had kept troop, broke ranks on their, and ran for their lives to the safety of the wood. So almost all of the soldiers that he had selected, yes, that he handpicked, yes, from and broke ranks, they ran away, yes, because they realized that neither Beowulf nor anyone will be able to defeat the dragon, yes. But within one heart, sorrow welled up in a man of worth that the claims of kinship cannot be denied. So there is one person that stays, one person who is, then it says it's worth the claims of kinship cannot be denied. And then at the end of the story, Beowulf, knowing that he's going to die, yes, he gives his succession to this man, yes, because he has no children. And this man is called Wiglaf, 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 yes. The claims of his name was Wiglaf, this is the name, a son of Weohstan. So he's going to be the next king of Beowulf's tribe, if it survives. And it's the only one that goes and helps Beowulf, yes? When he saw his lord, yes, we continue reading, tormented by the heat of the scalding helmet, yes, he goes and he decides to help him, yes? And Wiglaf is very young and inexperienced, maybe a little bit like Beowulf at the beginning of the story, yes? But even though he goes and he helps his king, yes? We're going to skip a couple of lines here. We're going to go to line 2670. The good thing is that now Wiglaf is there to help, yes? And we are going to go to the line above. After those words, a wildness rose in the dragon again and drove it to attack, heaving up fire, hunting for enemies, the humans it loathed. Flames lapped the shield, charred it to the boss, and the body armor of the young warrior was useless to him. But Wiglaf did well under the weak rim Beowulf shared with him once his own had shattered in sparks and ashes. So the dragon, after Wiglaf finishes the speech he was delivering, the dragon attacks again, spitting fire, yes, and they cover each other with one of the shields, yes, that the one that wasn't burned yet. Inspired again by the thought of glory, the war king threw his whole strength behind a sword stroke and connected with the skull. So he attacks the dragon with his with a sword, yes, and Nagling snapped. Beowulf's ancient iron gray sword let him down in the fight. It was never his fortune to be helped in combat by the cutting edge of weapons made of iron. Remember that we discussed how weapons function in the world, how weapons function between creatures, yes, that not, if there is a weapon that was created by giants, then only giants could be defeated by such weapon, yes, but not every creature could be defeated by just any weapon. It had to be a weapon designed specifically for them, yes, for the world that they belong to. When he wielded a word, no matter how bloodied and hard-edged the blade, his hand was too strong. The stroke he dealt, I have heard, would ruin it. He could reap no advantage. Then the bane of the people, the fire-breathing dragon, was mad to attack for a third time. So the dragon, of course, gets mad and he finally attacks again. When a chance came, he caught the hero in a rush of flame and clamped sharp fangs into his neck. Beowulf's body ran wet with his life blood. It came welling out. So the dragon bites Beowulf. Yes, he bites him. And remember what we said about dragons being poisonous. Next thing, they said the noble son of Wheelston saw the king in danger at his side and displayed in his inborn bravery and strength. So Wiglaf goes and tries to defend him. Once again, this is the following paragraph. Yes, once again, the king gathered his strength and drew a stabbing knife he carried on his belt, sharpened for battle. He stuck it deep into the dragon's flank. Beowulf dealt it a deadly wound, so it gave him a deadly wound. They had killed the enemy. Courage quelled his life. The pair of kinsmen partners in nobility had destroyed the foe. So both Wiglaf and Beowulf killed the dragon. So every man should act, be at hand when needed, but now for the king this would be the last of his many labors, the triumphs in the world. So the wound that Beowulf has received is deadly. Yes. If we go not to the following paragraph, but the other one, it says Beowulf spoke in spite of his wounds, mortal wounds. He still spoke, for he well knew his days in the world. He well knew his days in the world had been lived out to the end. His allotted time was drawing to a close. Death was near. Yes. So he makes a final reflection. He reflects. He thinks back upon his life, everything that he has lived. Yes. He instructs Wiglaf to take a portion of the treasure and go and check on his people. But we know that without a king, this tribe is not going to survive. Yes. And let's continue. Let us go to line 2783. Wiglaf went quickly, keen to get back, excited by the treasure. So he was excited because the treasure was big, not knowing that they had a sad ending. Yes. So again, what's the point of having a lot of money if you are going to have a sad ending? Incredible. Anxiety weighed out his brave heart. He was hoping he would find the leader of the Geats alive, where he had left him helpless earlier on the open ground. So he wants to tell Beowulf about the treasure. Yes. So he came to the place carrying the treasure and found his lord bleeding profusely, his life at an end. Again he began to swab his body. The beginnings of an utterance broke out from the king's breast cage. The old lord gazed sadly at the gold. So here Beowulf looks at he gazes at the gold, at the treasure, and he feels sad. Why? Because he won't be able to enjoy it, because he knows that he's going to die. Yes. And this is the final speech that Beowulf gives. Yes. He says, to the everlasting Lord of all, to the King of glory, I give thanks that I behold the treasure here in front of me, that I have been allowed to leave my people so well endowed on the day I die. So what he sees is that he has left a good treasure for the people, that for the tribe. Yes, what he doesn't see is that he's going to leave them without an experienced leader who may protect them from invaders that may be interested in the said treasure. Now that I have bartered my last breath to own this fortune, it is up to you, Wiglaf, yes, to look after their needs. I can hold out no longer. Order my troop to construct a barrow on a heathland on the coast. Yes, so A barrow is a lighthouse. So order them to construct a barrow on a headland of the coast after my pyre has cooled. My pyre means the funeral. Yes, remember that the story begins with a funeral, the funeral of Chief Shielding. Yes, so they would place the body in the pyre, and they would burn them as with all the treasures around them on the sea. Yes, so when the light is off, when the pyre has cooled, yes, it will loom on the horizon of roundlessness and be a reminder among my people, so that in coming times crews under sail will call it Beowulf's Barrow, as they steer ships across the wide unshrouded waters. Yes, so Beowulf's Barrow, yes, is a name given to the place where he would be buried. Okay, so these are his last words. Yes, you are the last of us, the only one. This is the paragraph after the one that we have read. We skip one paragraph, we go to the next one. Yes, again, the parallelism, as you listen to these words, pay attention to the parallelism with the song of the last survivor. You are the last of us, the only left of the Wagmandings. Fate swept us away, sent my whole brave high-born clan to their final doom. Now I must follow them, that they have died. That was the warrior's last word. Yes, so the king goes into the land of the dead. Yes, this was the end of his life. Yes, the dragon also died. Yes, but it was a high price that they had to pay. Yes, the death of the king and Beowulf. Yes, we're going to skip a couple of lines here. Yes, and the story ends with Beowulf's burial, with his funeral. Yes, and it's interesting because we see this cyclic pattern that the story ends in the same way that it has started. Yes, so we see that people gather around the pyre. Yes, let me see. We see Wiglaf commanding and giving different instructions to their people. And if we go to line 3110, it says, then Wisstan's son, stalwart to the end, had orders given to owners of dwellings, many people of importance in the land, to fetch wood far from the wide for the good man's pyre. So they went to gather some wood for the pyre. Now shall flame consume our leader in battle. The blaze darkened round him who stood his ground in the still hail. When the arrow storm shot from bowstrings pelted the shield wall, the shaft hit home. Further fledged it pinned the barb in flight. So what is important from here is that they finally do this ceremony. Yes, around Beowulf. Yes. And yeah, if we go to the following paragraph, we skip this paragraph and go to the next one. It says, the Git people built a pyre for Beowulf, stacked and decked it until it stood 4 square, hung with helmets, heavy war shields, and shining armor, just as he had ordered. Then his warriors laid him in the middle of it, mourning a lord far famed and beloved. So it was completely covered with war shields, shining armors, just as he had ordered. Yes. On a height they kindled the hugest of all funeral fires. Fumes of wood smoke billowed darkly up, the blaze roared and drowned out their weeping. When wine died down and flames wrought havoc into the hot bone house, burning it to the core. They were disconsolate and wailed aloud for their lord's decease. So everyone is heartbroken that he has died because they know, those who are experienced enough know that there is no hope for them now that Beowulf has died. A kid woman sang out in grief. With hair bound up, she unburdened herself of her worst fears. This is what I was saying. A wild litany of nightmare and lament. Her nation invaded, enemies of the rampage, bodies in piles, slavery and abasement. So here, foreshadowing what could happen in the future to them because they were now left unprotected. And if we go to the very last sentence, yes, of the poem, it says, they said that of all the kings upon the earth, he was the man most gracious and fair-minded, kindest to his people and keenest to win fame. Of course, they are referring to Beowulf, yes. And this is the end of the poem of Beowulf, yes. But it ends, as we have said, with the funeral, just as it has begun with another funeral, okay? So I hope everything was clear, but if not, you can send me a message or we can discuss it in person as soon as we see each other. Thank you.